Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag, and this is my second year doing it. I think I did one last year. I used to do book videos on my main channel, so a lot of my previous book videos are over on my main channel, and I don't think I ever did this video over there. I don't think. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just jump right into the questions. I actually don't really know what the questions are. I don't remember, and I didn't plan this at all, so I don't know what I'm gonna answer for these questions, so bear with me. We're just gonna kind of like see what happens. So the first question is the best book that you've read so far in 2020. This is hard because there's a lot of good books that I've read, and I feel like I can't pick because all the 5-star reads are all really good. But I think for this one, I think I'm gonna go with Good Morning Monster. A therapist shares 5 heroic stories of emotional recovery. So for some reason, this book was just something that I guess I didn't realize I needed. Like, I love psychology and I love anything like psychology related. And this book is basically about a therapist, and she talks about like 5 of her past like patients and kind of their story and how they overcame their demons and how they like kind of beat their trauma and got past a lot of the things that were holding them back in life. And there was just something so inspiring and so amazing about these stories. And I think one of the reasons why I liked it so much is because I felt like I learned a lot while reading this. It was very inspirational, very motivational, and I felt like I was learning it through a story, so it really stuck with me, whereas I feel like sometimes when I read like self-help books, the messages and the lessons that they're trying to convey to you just don't stick with me because I'm not getting like a story, and I don't feel like I'm like attaching myself to the lessons. And because I was connecting myself to these characters and kind of their stories and stuff like that, I kind of felt like I was learning lessons right along with them, and I think that that was probably one of the reasons why this stuck with me so much. So number 2, best sequel that you've read so far in 2020. So I think I've read 3 sequels this year. So I've read A Game of Fate, the Hades and Persephone sequel. I have read A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. I have read Siege and Storm. And those are the only sequels that I've read this year. So for this, I'm gonna say Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I gave this 4 stars actually. I didn't give it the full 5. I would definitely say that these books are a little bit longer than they need to be. They kind of are reminiscent of Sarah J. Maas in that way. I kind of feel like all Sarah J. Maas's books are really, really long, too long. I still really love them, but they're just too long in my opinion, and this definitely suffered from like that overwriting problem where like there's certain parts in this book where I'm just like bored. And yeah, there's definitely some issues there, like with the length and just overwriting and stuff like that. They could have been edited way down in my opinion, at least 200 pages down, but I still love the world that she has created, and I love the characters, and I love the relationships, and I feel like after that first book and kind of like where that first book ended, this definitely took like a really good like path. It did not suffer from second book syndrome at all. It definitely had its own storyline, and it was just a really, really good book. And like I said, I love the characters. I love Hawk. I love Poppy. It's just a great world. And if you like fantasy romance like I do, which I love myself a good fantasy romance, this definitely falls into that category. It's very reminiscent of like a Sarah J. Maas type of story. So highly recommend this. It was really good. Okay, so number 3 is new release that you haven't read yet but want to. Okay, so this is really, really easy. It is Taylor Jenkins Reid, Malibu Rising. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. She's one of my favorite authors. 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is still one of my favorite books of all time, and her character development in her books is phenomenal. I have never read an author that can develop characters as well as Taylor Jenkins Reid. There is something that she does where she makes characters so realistic and lovable but hateable at the same time, and it's so bizarre. Like, I've never seen an artist be able to do that. I've never seen an author that's able to do that so flawlessly, except for Taylor Jenkins Reid. Every single book I feel that way with. So I'm really eager to see if she's able to do that in this book. It wouldn't surprise me if she does because she's great at it. But she's just an amazing author. There's something so poignant about her books and just like so well done, I can't explain it. They're so realistic. And I think this kind of takes place in the same world as Daisy Jones and the Six, from what I remember. So we'll see. So far, I've heard some good things about it. I don't think too many people that I watch have read this, but for the people that have, they said it's really good and they like couldn't put it down, so I'm excited. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So I'm not somebody that keeps track of like upcoming releases very often. Like I I don't really keep track of like when books are coming out unless I'm like so excited for them. But I'm just not somebody that really cares. Like if a book comes out and I'm excited to read it, I'm like, oh cool, that book is out, but I don't keep track of when they're coming out, you know what I'm saying? But I think that the second book in the Crescent City series is coming out at the end of this year, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% positive. I know that it's called House of Earth and Breath, I think, or Air and Breath, Breath and Sky, House of Breath and Sky, Sky and Breath, I don't know. I think it's Sky and Breath, but I think that's coming out at the end of this year. I don't know if I'll read it at the end of this year. I might wait until next year to read it, but I am excited for that book because I really liked the first one. So that's really exciting. So another book that's coming out at the end of this year that I have had on my want to read list forever is Velvet Was the Night by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. She wrote the Mexican Gothic book, and I think that this one sounds really good. I think it's kind of like a murder mystery type of thing. So I think that one sounds really good. And then the other one that I'm excited for is Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. Well, I think the main reason is because it's vampires, and also the cover is just really pretty, and I'm just interested in this one. So we'll see. I might wait until some reviews come out about it first, but I think it sounds good because a good like dark vampire-y book hasn't come out, I feel like, in a really long time. I know like the Renee Ahdieh books came out, but like I want something like really dark, like dark vampires, you know what I'm saying? So hopefully that's kind of like that. I think that that would be really cool. Okay, number 5, biggest disappointment. Okay, so I have a few disappointments from this year, but I'm definitely gonna say my biggest disappointment. I think I'm gonna say my biggest disappointment of the year was Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. So I tried to binge these books before the show came out, and I got the first one read and the second one read, and I didn't like the second one. I just thought it was so flippin' boring. I skimmed it at the end, which I never do that with books. I never skim them like that, but with this book, I just could not read it any longer. But I was so far in that I like didn't want to DNF it, you know? So I just started skimming it because I was like, oh my god, this is so boring. It was definitely like second book syndrome type of book. Nothing happened. It was just a lot of talking, and I was just so bored with it. So bored. I think I gave it 2 stars, and I liked the first book. The first book was pretty good, but just Siege and Storm, for some reason, that book was torture for me to read. It kind of reminded me of Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin. Like the same feelings I got while reading that book was the same feelings I got when I read Siege and Storm. It was just boring. So number 6, the biggest surprise. Okay, so this one is hard, but I think I'm gonna say Good Morning Monster again. Like that one I thought I would like, but I wasn't sure how much I would like it. You know what I mean? Like I felt like it could go either way depending on how it was written, but I loved it way more than I was expecting to like it. And I thought I would like it, but I just really liked it. The way she wrote it, I just feel like she could have came across as extremely pretentious, right? Like, this is how I helped these people, and I'm just like the best therapist ever, and like this is what I did. But she was so good about just sharing her mistakes and what she thinks that she could have done better, and areas where maybe she made a mistake while treating them, or what she should have done, things like that. Like she didn't come across as if she was like the world's most perfect therapist. And I really appreciated that because it definitely showed that she was humble, and it made the book so good because I felt like she was just very honest, very real, and very raw, and not just with her patients, but with herself. And I think that that's one of the main reasons, because I cannot stand a pretentious author that writes as if like they know all and all that kind of thing. That drives me nuts. And I definitely feel like this author had a really good balance, and that's what made it so interesting. So yeah, I was very surprised with this book, and I think you guys should all read it if you can. So number 7 is favorite new author or debut to you. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna say my favorite new author would probably be Colleen Hoover. Now I read one Colleen Hoover before this year, and it was November 9. I think I read it like 2 or 3 years ago, so it's been a really long time. But I finally picked up Verity. It was the first book I picked up this year, and I fell in love with Colleen Hoover's writing. And I know that that's like so basic for me to say, and I know a lot of people do not agree, but I love Colleen Hoover's writing. It's so simple and easy, and it just flows. Like I feel like when I read her books, they're like when I'm in the mood for something extremely easy, but like I know it's gonna be good, and just like an easy flowing read, right? Like it flows from the beginning to the end, and I feel like when I read Colleen Hoover, like it's always just an enjoyable experience. Even if they're not like the best books I've ever read, like it's still enjoyable to read her books. And I think I've read like 4 books this year just by Colleen Hoover, and I want to read more by her. They're just really good palate cleansers. Like if I'm not in the mood to like think too much, I feel like Colleen Hoover is like perfect for those type of moods. And I just love her writing. And I've been actually getting her books on my Kindle, and I got my Kindle for Christmas last year. So I got it at the very, very end of the year, and so I started using it a ton this year. So I've just been buying all of her books on Kindle, and that's why I've been reading them so much. It's because I have all of her books on Kindle now, so it's really easy for me to just like pick them up. Newest fictional crush. Okay, so this is really easy. Hawk, 100% is like my newest fictional crush. I really like Hawk. I mean, he's like your typical like alpha hero type of character, you know? But I also started the Touch of Darkness series by Scarlett St. Clair, and I read the first 2 books. And Hades is kind of a little cinnamon roll, to be honest. Like he's a romantic cinnamon roll, and he's a little on the horny side, like I'm not gonna lie. Like I love a good like smutty romance, but like Hades is like on the verge of being like annoyingly horny, where you're like, do you think of anything else? But like there is a side to him that's like a little bit like cinnamon rolly, and so I do kind of like him in those books. But that second book was kind of like, really? New favorite character. Okay, this is easy. Definitely Gwen from A Court of Silver Flames. Loved her character. I think she's so flippin' cute, and I loved her relationship with Nesta and Emery. I just love all of them and their little friend group, and I want Asriel and Gwen to get together so bad, because after I read the part where Asriel saved her, I'm like, oh my god, how adorable would that be if like they were mates and they could be together. Like it would be so cute. There's just something about Gwen that I can kind of relate to in this weird way. I just really like her character, so I definitely think Gwen is my new favorite. A book that made you cry. I have not cried reading a single book this year. Not one single book. I would probably say Good Morning Monster is probably the one that I got closest to crying in, but I didn't cry in that one. It takes a lot to make me cry in a book. It just doesn't really happen, and I haven't even like almost cried in a book. I just don't think I've really read any hard hitters, which is interesting because that was like goal for this year, was to read more hard hitters, but I haven't read any. So I can't really answer this question because I have not cried in a book yet this year. A book that made you happy. Okay, let me look at my Goodreads. Okay, so this one is really easy actually. I read this book. This is Cancer Made Me a Shallower Person, a memoir in comics by Miriam Engelberg. And it's this little like graphic novel type of thing. I got this at the library. And the title is actually what made me pick this up, because I thought it was just like so blunt and in your face. Like, cancer made me a shallower person. Like, what do you mean by that? So I picked it up, and this is so funny. Like, I caught myself laughing out loud while reading this multiple times, and there's a few reasons for it, I think. First of all, she's just kind of a funny person, and second of all, the art is extremely like amateur, and so it kind of adds to the funniness of like the writing. And there's just something so lighthearted about this. Like, you know, when you're writing about cancer and your experience with cancer, obviously it's a very hard-hitting thing, and it's a very like heavy thing, but the way that she kind of made it a little bit more lighthearted, and she kind of poked fun at some of the things that she experienced, I think is what made it so funny. And it actually was kind of educational. And I kind of feel like if I was ever diagnosed with cancer, or if I knew somebody that maybe gets diagnosed with cancer someday, I would want to buy them this book, because there's something about it that makes, like, that would make you feel less alone. You know what I mean? Because I feel like having something like this happen to you, it's so heavy and hard, and I think it would be really easy to feel so alone while you experience it. But there's something so lighthearted about this, and like, you know, she just made light of a very difficult situation, and there's just some really funny things in here that I was literally laughing out loud, and I was like reading them to Travis, and it's just really funny. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. Okay, so this was tough, but I'm gonna have to go with, I picked 3, you guys. Vengeance Road by Erin Bowman. This is a Western, and ever since I saw the cover of this book, like a long time ago when it first came out, I fell in love with it. I just think it's one of the prettiest covers. It just has like the very Southwest, like cowboyish vibes, but super, super, super pretty, very vintage looking. I love the font. And the second one is this, Gods and Monsters by Janie Marie. This is like a new adult fantasy, but every single book in this series is stunning. I think there's 3 books right now, and they all are by the same artist, and they're so dang pretty. Look at that. Look at that cover. It's beautiful. And then I really like this one. This is called White Fur. This is by Jordine LeBaire, and it's a pink book. And as you can tell, it's like a girl's face, like really close up. I love the font that they used. It's the same font on the spine, which is nice. But I just think that this book is really pretty. I don't know why. I just really like the color. I like the close-up face, and I just think it's really, really pretty. But that's it. I'm not really anyone that buys like, you know, like those crazy beautiful editions or anything like that. I just kind of like buy what I find. So what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Okay, so this is like, I could like go on and on and on forever with this one, but if you guys want to see my books that I want to read this year in 2020, like the top, I think I did 10 books. I think I've read 4 from that list, so I still have 6 books to read from that list that I haven't read yet, so you can go check that video out. But I do want to read more hard hitters. Like I said, that was a goal for me this year, and I haven't really read any hard hitters. I mean, Good Morning Monster was a hard hitter, I feel like, but that's like the only one for me, so I do want to kind of maybe jump into some of my more hard-hitting books. Fave book community members. Okay. So Brittany the Bibliophile, I love her videos. There's just something about her that I relate to. I feel like we're very similar people. And she also does journal spreads. But the thing I like about her journal spreads is they're not basic. Like, they're not the journal spreads that you see everybody do. Her journal spreads are very intricate. She does themes, but she does art. And she really makes them unique, and you can tell that she works really hard to kind of like do something really different and out of the box. And sometimes they turn out amazing, and sometimes she's like, I didn't really like this page. But I like that she just goes for it and like does completely crazy things. My other favorite is Hardback Hoarder. I love her books. I love her videos, and I don't know why. I just like her videos. You know how you just can't really explain why you like somebody's videos, but you just really like them? Like, whenever she uploads, I'm like excited. You know what I mean? I love Books and Lala. She's fun because she does all those really weird challenges. Oh yeah, Princess of Paperback is really good. I like her videos because she talks a lot about romance, and we have that in common, and so I feel like I can get a lot of recommendations from her books, or from her videos, because she does kind of like the same types of things that I like as well. Mayana Reads is also really good because she reads a lot of romance as well. I feel like she's a little bit pickier with her romances, but I do like her videos, and she reads a lot of books, so she has a lot of like reviews and recommendations because she reads such a vast amount of books. But yeah, I would probably say those 4 channels are kind of what I'm into right now as far as book community. So yeah, that is it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed my video, and let me know if you guys have any recommendations for me for the rest of the year. If you guys have any hard hitters that you think I should read, I would definitely be curious. And thank you so much for watching. Sorry I haven't uploaded here in a while, but yeah, I'm gonna try to do better. So I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.